Good evening. I'm speaking to you tonight from a secure facility following what may be one of the most disturbing classified briefings I've received regarding threats to American national security. What I'm about to share concerns a weapon of mass psychological manipulation that operates not through missiles or cyber attacks, but through the smartphones in the pockets of over 170 million Americans, most of them under the age of 30. The information I'll present tonight comes from our most sensitive intelligence sources, including classified assessments from the FBI, CIA, and National Security Agency that reveal the systematic weaponization of social media algorithms to influence American political behavior, social cohesion, and national unity. This isn't about technology, policy, or privacy concerns. This is about the most sophisticated influence operation in human history. For too long, policymakers have treated TikTok as a social media platform with data privacy issues rather than recognizing it for what our intelligence community has determined it actually is: a comprehensive psychological warfare system designed to manipulate the political beliefs, social attitudes, and behavioral patterns of an entire generation of Americans. Over the next several minutes, I'll walk you through intelligence assessments that reveal TikTok's algorithm doesn't simply show users content they want to see. It systematically promotes content designed to increase political polarization, undermine trust in democratic institutions, and normalize behaviors and beliefs that serve Chinese strategic interests while weakening American social cohesion. This represents more than foreign interference in American politics. This is the deployment of artificial intelligence to rewire the neural pathways of American youth in ways that could permanently alter the political and social landscape of our democracy. The scope and sophistication of this operation exceeds anything attempted during the Cold War, precisely because it operates through entertainment rather than propaganda, making its targets willing participants in their own manipulation. The implications extend far beyond immediate security concerns to encompass fundamental questions about cognitive sovereignty, democratic governance, and whether free societies can maintain their values when subjected to systematic psychological manipulation by authoritarian powers using technologies that their targets don't understand and can't resist. Global stage. In the classified assessment rooms where America's information security strategy is developed, a chilling analysis has emerged that fundamentally reframes how we must understand modern threats to democratic societies. Traditional concepts of foreign interference focused on election manipulation and propaganda campaigns have proven inadequate for addressing systematic behavioral modification of entire populations through algorithmic manipulation. As I review the latest intelligence on TikTok's operational structure and content promotion algorithms, one fact becomes unmistakably clear. We are witnessing the deployment of artificial intelligence for mass psychological manipulation on a scale that transcends traditional concepts of influence operations. This isn't simply foreign propaganda. This is systematic behavioral engineering designed to reshape American political culture. The scope of TikTok's influence extends far beyond entertainment or social media engagement. What we're observing is the systematic promotion of content that increases social division, undermines institutional trust, promotes dangerous behaviors, and normalizes political attitudes that serve Chinese strategic interests while weakening American social cohesion and democratic governance. ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent company, operates under Chinese national intelligence laws that require cooperation with Chinese government intelligence services, while TikTok's algorithm development occurs in Beijing under direct oversight of Chinese Communist Party officials who understand that algorithmic content promotion constitutes a form of mass psychological warfare more effective than traditional propaganda. Intelligence assessments reveal that TikTok's algorithm doesn't operate according to simple engagement metrics that characterize other social media platforms. Instead, it implements sophisticated psychological manipulation protocols designed to gradually modify user political beliefs, social attitudes, and behavioral patterns through carefully curated content exposure that creates the illusion of organic discovery while actually implementing systematic indoctrination. The targeting is particularly focused on American youth age 13-25, the generation that will determine American political leadership for the next half-century. By shaping their political beliefs, social attitudes, and behavioral norms during their formative years, TikTok's algorithm is attempting to create a generation of Americans whose political instincts align with Chinese strategic interests rather than traditional American democratic values. The implications extend beyond immediate influence to encompass questions about cognitive autonomy, democratic decision-making, and the preservation of independent political thought in societies where algorithmic manipulation can override conscious reasoning through subconscious behavioral modification techniques that users cannot detect or resist. Historical context. The weaponization of social media algorithms for psychological manipulation represents an evolution of influence operations that builds on decades of research into mass psychology, behavioral modification, and information warfare, but deploys these techniques through technologies that enable unprecedented scale and precision in targeting individual cognitive vulnerabilities. During the Cold War, both superpowers invested extensively in psychological warfare research, but these programs were limited by their reliance on mass media that couldn't target individual psychological profiles or adapt in real time to user responses. The development of artificial intelligence and algorithmic content curation has eliminated these limitations while providing plausible deniability about deliberate manipulation. The Chinese approach to algorithmic influence operations reflects their understanding that democratic societies are most vulnerable to psychological manipulation that appears to result from organic social processes rather than obvious foreign propaganda. By using entertainment content as the delivery mechanism, TikTok avoids triggering the psychological defenses that traditional propaganda activates. Now we come to the most critical part of this assessment. The difference between TikTok's operations and traditional social media algorithms lies in the intentional promotion of content designed to achieve specific political objectives rather than simple user engagement. While other platforms use algorithms to maximize time spent viewing content, TikTok's algorithm prioritizes content that advances Chinese strategic interests, even when it reduces user engagement. Intelligence analysis reveals that TikTok's content promotion systematically amplifies material that promotes political division, institutional distrust, dangerous social trends, and political attitudes that align with Chinese foreign policy objectives while suppressing content that promotes American unity, institutional trust, or political beliefs that conflict with Chinese interests. The COVID-19 pandemic provided a natural experiment in TikTok's influence capabilities, with analysis revealing systematic promotion of content that undermined trust in American health institutions, promoted dangerous health behaviors, and amplified political divisions around public health measures in ways that served Chinese interests in demonstrating American institutional incompetence. The integration of TikTok's influence operations with broader Chinese information warfare strategies has created comprehensive campaigns that coordinate TikTok algorithm manipulation with other Chinese influence platforms to amplify specific narratives while creating the appearance of organic American political sentiment rather than foreign manipulation. Current events layer. Intelligence reports from the past 72 hours reveal significant acceleration in TikTok's algorithmic manipulation activities, with analysis indicating systematic promotion of content designed to increase political polarization around current events while suppressing content that might promote national unity or institutional trust during periods of international tension. The most concerning development involves what analysts are calling neural pathway conditioning, the systematic use of short-form video content to modify user attention spans, emotional responses, and political instincts through repetitive exposure to carefully designed psychological stimuli that create addiction-like dependency while implementing gradual behavioral modification. Recent algorithm analysis indicates that TikTok has intensified promotion of content that portrays American political institutions as corrupt, American economic systems as exploitative, and American foreign policy as imperialistic, while simultaneously promoting content that presents Chinese political and economic models in positive terms without revealing the coordinated nature of this messaging. The element that nobody talks about but changes the entire picture is the integration of TikTok's algorithm with advanced psychological profiling that creates individual manipulation strategies tailored to each user's specific psychological vulnerabilities, political beliefs, and social relationships, enabling precision influence operations that can target specific demographic groups with customized psychological manipulation techniques. In the data collection sphere, we've documented TikTok's systematic harvesting of user biometric data, location information, device identifiers, and social network mapping that provides Chinese intelligence services with comprehensive intelligence about American political attitudes, social relationships, and behavioral patterns that could be used for espionage or targeted influence operations. European intelligence services report similar patterns of algorithmic manipulation in their territories, suggesting that TikTok's influence operations extend beyond the United States to encompass systematic psychological manipulation of democratic societies globally while promoting content that serves Chinese geopolitical objectives across multiple regions. Actors' internal motivations, Chinese strategic information warfare. From Beijing's perspective, TikTok represents the ultimate strategic weapon, a mass psychological manipulation system that Americans have voluntarily installed on their devices and actively use for hours each day, providing unprecedented access to American political consciousness while maintaining plausible deniability about deliberate influence operations. Chinese strategic doctrine recognizes that controlling information flows and shaping political attitudes provides more sustainable influence than conventional military or economic pressure, while TikTok's entertainment format prevents the psychological resistance that traditional propaganda triggers among target populations. The integration of TikTok operations with broader Chinese information warfare strategies serves multiple objectives simultaneously: intelligence collection about American political sentiment, behavioral modification of American youth, and normalization of Chinese political values while undermining confidence in American democratic institutions and leadership. ByteDance corporate structure. ByteDance operates under a dual structure that provides plausible deniability about Chinese government control while ensuring that critical algorithm development and content moderation decisions occur within Chinese territory under direct oversight of Communist Party officials who understand TikTok's strategic value. The corporate separation between TikTok's American operations and ByteDance's Chinese development teams is designed to prevent American oversight of algorithm design while maintaining the appearance of American operational independence that enables continued access to American users and data. American user psychological vulnerabilities. American TikTok users, particularly adolescents and young adults, demonstrate psychological vulnerabilities to algorithmic manipulation that Chinese developers have systematically exploited through content designed to trigger dopamine responses while gradually modifying political beliefs through association with entertainment content. The platform's addictive design creates psychological dependence that makes users resistant to information about manipulation while creating defensive responses that protect their continued use of a platform that has become integrated with their social identity and entertainment preferences. Congressional response calculations. American policymakers face the challenge of addressing a national security threat that operates through a popular entertainment platform used by significant portions of their electoral constituencies, creating political pressures that conflict with security imperatives while TikTok's influence operations actively promote opposition to government regulation. The complexity of algorithmic manipulation makes it difficult to demonstrate clear evidence of specific influence operations to public audiences who experience TikTok as entertainment rather than political manipulation, creating communication challenges that TikTok's influence operations actively exploit. Intelligence community assessment priorities. American intelligence agencies recognize TikTok as representing a fundamentally new category of threat that combines espionage, influence operations, and psychological warfare in ways that existing legal and regulatory frameworks were never designed to address, requiring new approaches to threat assessment and mitigation. Strategic conflict areas, cognitive sovereignty, and neural security. The systematic manipulation of American political consciousness through algorithmic behavioral modification represents a direct assault on cognitive sovereignty that could permanently alter American political culture in ways that serve Chinese strategic interests while undermining democratic decision-making processes. Intelligence assessments identify TikTok's algorithm as implementing systematic psychological manipulation techniques that operate below the threshold of conscious awareness while modifying user political beliefs, social attitudes, and behavioral patterns through carefully designed content exposure protocols. Generational political transformation. This is where the real breakdown begins. TikTok's primary impact targets Americans aged 13 to 25, the generation that will determine American political leadership for the next half-century. By systematically modifying their political instincts during formative developmental periods, TikTok could create permanent changes to American political culture that persist long after the platform itself becomes irrelevant. The algorithmic promotion of content that undermines trust in democratic institutions, promotes political extremism, and normalizes authoritarian political attitudes could create a generation of Americans whose political instincts conflict with traditional democratic values while aligning with Chinese strategic preferences for American political weakness and division. Data collection and intelligence operations. TikTok's comprehensive data collection provides Chinese intelligence services with unprecedented insight into American political sentiment, social relationships, and behavioral patterns that could be used for espionage operations, influence targeting, or strategic planning based on detailed understanding of American social and political vulnerabilities. The integration of biometric data, location tracking, device identification, and social network mapping creates intelligence capabilities that could support Chinese operations targeting specific American individuals, organizations, or political movements based on detailed psychological and behavioral profiles. Information warfare integration. TikTok's influence operations integrate with broader Chinese information warfare strategies that coordinate multiple platforms and influence vectors to amplify specific narratives while creating the appearance of organic American political sentiment rather than coordinated foreign manipulation. Democratic resilience and institutional trust. The systematic undermining of trust in American democratic institutions through algorithmic content promotion could create long-term damage to American political stability that persists regardless of specific policy outcomes or electoral results, serving Chinese interests in American political weakness and social division. The multipolar reality. The emergence of algorithmic psychological manipulation as a primary tool of great power competition represents a fundamental transformation in how authoritarian powers can influence democratic societies through technologies that democratic governments struggle to understand, regulate, or counter effectively. Unlike traditional influence operations that required extensive intelligence infrastructure and created obvious evidence of foreign manipulation, algorithmic influence operates through technologies that appear to serve legitimate commercial purposes while implementing systematic political manipulation that remains largely invisible to both targets and oversight authorities. The success of TikTok's influence operations demonstrates to other authoritarian powers that democratic societies are particularly vulnerable to psychological manipulation that operates through entertainment and social media rather than traditional propaganda, potentially encouraging the development of similar systems by other adversaries. The factor that nobody discusses but transforms the entire equation is the irreversibility of psychological manipulation achieved during critical developmental periods. Unlike traditional influence operations that can be countered through competing messaging, algorithmic behavioral modification during adolescence and early adulthood creates permanent changes to political instincts and social attitudes that resist correction through rational argument or contrary evidence. The implications extend beyond immediate political influence to encompass fundamental questions about cognitive liberty, democratic autonomy, and the preservation of independent political thought in societies where algorithmic manipulation can override conscious reasoning through subconscious behavioral modification that users cannot detect or resist. For democratic societies globally, TikTok's success in implementing mass psychological manipulation represents a proof of concept for authoritarian influence operations that could be adapted and deployed through other platforms, creating systematic threats to democratic decision-making that existing legal and institutional frameworks are inadequate to address. As we confront this unprecedented threat to cognitive sovereignty, the fundamental question facing democratic leadership is whether we can preserve independent political thought and democratic decision-making when subjected to systematic psychological manipulation by authoritarian powers using technologies that operate below the threshold of conscious awareness. The answer will determine more than social media policy. It will establish whether democratic societies can maintain their political autonomy when authoritarian powers possess technologies that can systematically modify the political beliefs and social attitudes of entire populations through platforms that their targets experience as entertainment rather than political manipulation. This challenge requires developing new frameworks for cognitive security that protect democratic decision-making processes while preserving the technological innovation and social connectivity that define modern democratic societies. The stakes could not be higher: the preservation of democratic governance itself in an era where artificial intelligence enables unprecedented manipulation of human political consciousness. The future of American democracy may depend on our ability to recognize and respond to psychological warfare technologies that threaten the cognitive foundations of democratic decision-making while operating through platforms that citizens voluntarily use and actively defend against government regulation. Thank you for your attention to this critical assessment. The algorithmic manipulation capabilities I've outlined tonight represent perhaps the most sophisticated threat to democratic governance since the development of nuclear weapons, with the potential to permanently alter American political culture in ways that serve authoritarian interests while undermining the cognitive autonomy that democratic decision-making requires. The psychological warfare system operating through TikTok affects not just individual users, but the entire political ecosystem of American democracy, creating implications that will determine whether future generations of Americans retain the capacity for independent political thought or become subject to systematic manipulation by foreign powers who understand democracy's cognitive vulnerabilities better than we do. I'll continue monitoring these developments and will provide updated assessments as this threat to cognitive security evolves. The preservation of democratic governance and American political autonomy depends on understanding and responding to psychological warfare technologies that threaten the foundational assumptions of democratic society. Thank you, and good evening.